Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Well, I guess my intro is kind of a lie. I guess just mostly focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Sometimes we gotta give our 2 cents, we gotta talk about the drama. And boy, is there drama involving Tim Pool. Other people know him as Beanie Man. Well, the Beanie Man is taking some pretty serious heat right now after he suffered what seemed to be an on-air live meltdown in reaction to his YouTube livestream chat and paid member comments. Now, I want to preface this video by saying I'm not a Tim Pool hater. I'm not his biggest fan either. He's alright, I mean, he does some good work. Am I an avid Tim Pool enjoyer? Not really, but I'm not a hater either. I kind of believe that he's a net positive for the space. This video isn't meant to attack Tim Pool, to pile on to the guy and hate on him. It's just a reaction, it's my honest thoughts as to how he handled the situation, because I think his very personal, emotional reaction was frankly uncalled for and quite ugly. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so let's first start off with the context. There's an individual who goes by the name Eliza Blue. I don't believe that's her real name. But essentially there's controversy surrounding Mrs. Eliza because she's cemented herself as an advocate against human trafficking. She claims that she herself was trafficked. But evidence is now surfacing that suggests that she hasn't exactly been honest about her past, and that she may essentially be a grifter, taking advantage of a very sensitive subject to create fame and notoriety around her name and her brand as an individual, as an activist in this space. And to make matters worse, this piles on after she's been using her connections at Twitter and YouTube to take people's videos down and to have people's accounts suspended for simply reacting to and playing a video of Eliza that was posted on World Star Hip Hop back in I think 2015 or 2016. She's making the claim that people were leaking private photos of her, which is completely inaccurate. A music video that she produced herself for World Star Hip Hop, which is widely publicly available. So there's 2 issues here at hand. One, the possible lie and grift about a very sensitive issue like human trafficking, and the next, illegitimately trying to censor online YouTube creators and Twitter personalities, which is probably one of the worst things that you could do in the online world when it comes to the commentary world. People who abuse copyright takedowns or other types of legal takedowns are kind of the worst. So that's the context. Now you might be asking, what does this have to do with Tim Pool? Well, it's relevant to Tim Pool because he's had Eliza on his podcast twice before, and one of Tim Pool's journalists on timcast.com has been following the entire story and wrote this big, I don't know, I didn't even really read it to be completely honest with you, but timcast.com essentially did this whole research piece. They even worked with Eliza Blue on the article, they released it on his website, and so Tim Pool is kind of wrapped up in this whole thing, and a good chunk of his audience wanted him to address the situation, and when he chose not to, well, people were disappointed. There was a little bit of a fallout and people started to comment, and this was Tim's reaction.
We had about 40,000 peak concurrent viewers. We get, 300 to 500,000 video viewers plus 100,000 on the podcast, and then about 1 million across the clips. Scroats McGoat says, last night as a member, if Tim doesn't disavow Eliza tonight, get the out, Scroats McGoat. You can cancel right now and see you later. You will never wave money in my face and make me disavow anybody, especially someone I care so little about. Eliza Blue. She's been on the show 2 times. If you're going to cancel because I won't do what you say, you shouldn't have been here in the first place. Bye-bye. Don't let the door hit your on the way out. All right, what else do we got? DJ Zeno says, unsubbed on members only after over a year. Here's $5 FU for, I'm pretty bummed. Thought you stood against censorship. Hope you change. See you later, buddy. Look, sad to see you go, but I will never cater to a mob. And that's it. End of story.
Now that to me felt a little bit like a Cenk Uygur moment. Now I don't think this makes Tim a terrible person, and I'm not going to condemn him for the rest of eternity because he got emotional, but I think it was a pretty bad look. And he seemed to have this self-righteous aura the whole time, as if he wasn't going to cave to the mob. But honestly, I didn't exactly understand the point that he was trying to make. I mean, he's wrapped up in this thing. He kept saying essentially, I don't want to comment on this irrelevant person, but that supposedly irrelevant person is one of the top cultural stories going on right now. That's that's a person that you've platformed many times. That's a person that you're currently having your staff write an article on. And so you should probably address the situation. And if you don't, and she's truly completely irrelevant, well, then I think the best course of action is probably to say, well, listen, folks, you can be angry about the fact that I'm not talking about this. I have a journalist on the job and I'm not making any further comment, and it would end there. But instead, Tim Pool decided that he was going to get emotional and he was going to have a meltdown on air attacking his members, the people who pay for everything that he does, the people who watch him religiously and not only watch his podcast, but then pay to be able to watch the uncensored version on his website. I personally thought that was a little bit low. And I also feel like he has kind of a moral obligation to at least say something. You know, it takes me back to the whole Jack Murphy situation. Jack Murphy ended up being a total fraud. Again, at the time, probably one of the biggest stories in the whole culture sphere. And Jack Murphy was someone that Tim Pool platformed for months. Jack Murphy supposedly made $1 million+ selling his brand and his masculinity course on Tim Pool's podcast. If you're going to platform people, you're going to associate your brand with them, and if you're going to cover the story, well, then you probably shouldn't lash out at your audience members who expect you to address the situation, especially when you're Mr. Free Speech guy. I mean, that's part of Tim Pool's online brand, and I think for the most part, what his audience members were expecting from him was for him to at least condemn Eliza Blue's abuse of her connections at Twitter and YouTube to have her detractors censored. I think that's probably where most of the disappointment came from in his audience. Or instead of just not letting it get to him, well, he really let it get to him. In fact, he then resorted to going on his Twitter afterwards and tweeting about his membership stats. Kind of a yikes for me. I think this whole situation was made worse from Tim Pool's reaction. He probably should have just said nothing or should have just ignored the super chat comments and just moved on with his life, but instead I think he made things worse. And things get even worse as Tim Pool dived directly into conspiracy land.
So you want to know why I think these people got censored on Twitter? I think it's possible, and I'll just keep it vague. It is a PR stunt targeting people who talk about free speech with censorship to trick them into promoting an individual trying to be famous. And they all walked right into it. It is PR stunt 101. Yeah, you spam someone's comments saying, talk about this person. Once they do, you then use your multiple accounts to flag them, triggering an algorithmic censorship campaign. You then use the bots to spam a conspiracy theory. You then start, I mean, look, I think somebody paid to make Eliza Blue famous, and the people who are commenting are trying to make her famous.
He then went on to claim that people who are tweeting at him or that people who are outraged by this whole Eliza Blue controversy are actually paid actors from PR firms trying to promote Eliza Blue's brand. Now, that is really grasping at straws. You know, I'm somebody who's tweeted about this Eliza Blue character a couple times. I find what she did on Twitter and YouTube to be absolutely despicable. Now, the whole human trafficking thing and whether or not she's grifting, whether or not she is lying, I don't know anything conclusively, so I'm not going to give my opinion on that. But her using back channels at Twitter and YouTube to suppress people that are merely reacting to a public video of her, I found that despicable, and so I've made my voice heard on the issue. And so essentially now, Tim Pool is now wrapping me up in this whole thing because I feel attacked. He's now telling me that I'm a paid PR shill who's trying to make Eliza Blue trend. I mean, to be completely honest with you, I had no intention of making a video on Tim Pool's reaction until he said that. I think in general, I'm just not really seeing eye to eye with Tim Pool on this one. Generally, I agree with the guy, but this one, it's just been a pretty bad look. People just tweeting or commenting their disappointment at him, I don't think equates to a mob that's trying to force him into a specific position through money, waving money in front of his face, as he said. The idea that she's just an irrelevant person that he shouldn't have to address, I think again is also cope, considering he has a direct connection to the story and the individual, and his unhinged PR firm conspiracy is just unhinged and more cope. I think he might have had an emotional break on this one, and so I think Tim should take the L and probably apologize. I doubt that's gonna happen. He doesn't really seem like the type of guy who would ever apologize. That's just my take. So he gets an L on this one, but you know what? It is what it is. I think we can forgive and move on. People make mistakes, people aren't perfect, and of course that applies to Tim Pool and everybody else. I know a lot of people wanted my opinion, my reaction. There it is. I'm sure some people are gonna agree with me, some people are going to disagree with me and tell me I'm a complete moron in the comment section. It's to be expected. It happens anytime I make a video covering any drama involving other creators and situations like this. It is what it is. That's my opinion, and I'll just leave it at that. Despite this, I still think Tim Pool's a pretty swell dude. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.